thank you very much for joining us. Welcome along to Japan. Our first of 2 trips to Japan this year in GT World Challenge Asia. And our traditional stop as the SRO Power Tour begins. There, the Festival Garden and the Fuji Speedway Hotel, which is so much part of the facilities here at the circuit. A really, really great place to come and race. Every single one of the people you speak to in the paddock just loves this circuit. Originally built in 1966, well, the plans were in 1963. Plans originally were for a NASCAR oval to be built, and the NASCAR Japan Association was planning to build it with approval from NASCAR, but Sterling Moss came over in 1964 and said, no, this needs to be a European-style circuit, and it opened in 1966. Let's see what happened yesterday with the highlights from race 1. Race 1 and the Audi of Frankie Cheng losing the lead into turn number 1 to Anthony Liu. David Chen, who was on the pole position, managing to slide back up the inside to gain 2nd spot, but had lost the lead. When they came into the pits, they came in at exactly the same time, but Frankie Chen had been deemed that he'd jumped the start and therefore had a slower pit stop than the 96. And the 96 therefore able to jump the Audi, but also more importantly jump Adley Fong, who is in the lead of the race, which put the 96 to the head of the field. And that is where he stayed, with Lai Kai-shun doing an exceptional job as a silver driver, staying away from the pros behind. Lauren Heinrich, on his return to the championship, gave us a show, going around the outside of the 500 Nismo Nissan, even if that Nissan had lots of grunt down the main straight. Elias Sepanen had to retire the leading Silver Am Mercedes late on in the race. A real shame for the 3-star brand. And Heinrich on the very last lap, hassling James Kuai off the podium, but possibly that was a good thing, because it meant that James Kuai would not take a hefty penalty into today's race. Heinrich, though, would take the overall podium, and more importantly for his teammate Lu Wei, a chunk of points won in the championship. The winner, though, the 96, a 1-2 for Ferrari. And therefore, in the global points, it means Porsche have moved up back ahead of Mercedes, but by only 4 points. We would expect to see, with 9 Porsches in the field today and only 3 Mercedes, that gap continue to grow as we get to the midpoint of the global manufacturer standings, which takes into consideration all GT World Challenge races across the world: Asia, America, Australia and Europe as one. Cars heading out onto circuit then, the grid not yet formed. 25 cars expected on the grid, and it's an exciting looking grid because we have a BMW on the pole position for the first time. And why is that exciting? Well, despite the success of BMW across the world, BMW have never taken a victory in GT World Challenge Asia since it began back in 2017. This could be the day in the hands of Max Hesse, who got that pole position significantly in front of a car which is an invitational entry for the weekend, and therefore will not score points. Tom Sargent in the number 32 pink Porsche, and shares that car with Kyle Washington. Kyle was not particularly strong in his stint yesterday, but Tom very, very strong in qualifying. Best Porsche in the field. It is a very, very interesting circuit to drive around. 4.5 kilometers in length. The lap record all the way back in 2018. I'm not sure that's going to be beaten, the pace of these cars today. But the crucial thing about the Fuji International Speedway is that final sector. So different to the other sectors, you really need a car that's compliant through there. And we have seen different brands working in different points of this circuit, and it does provide us, therefore, with really interesting action. That's what the circuit looks like from a bird's eye point of view. Let's ride now on board with Jackson Evans to see what it looks like from a driver's point of view.
Hey guys, you're on board with Jackson Evans for a lap from the driver's eye at Fuji Speedway in the number 15 Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 for Phantom Global Racing. Obviously super long straight here at Fuji, so really important to look for that brake marker at turn 1, sort of aiming for the 120 mark. Really hard brake back down to first gear, making sure we get to that curb on the inside. Can get pretty loose on the exit there, but important run down to turn 3, which is a very fast corner here. In the Audi, we stay 4th gear, really trying to maximize that inside curb. Really important not to run too wide as there's track limits violations there, and then probably one of the best corners. A long double right here, really hard to keep the car on the edge and the mid-corner speed up. Again, focusing on the brake, getting down to the apex here at turn 6 before another long run down to the chicane. Little bit tricky as the tire starts to go away. Don't want to run too wide as there's track limits violations. A really hard brake once again at the Dunlop Bridge here, back down to first gear. Really good passing spot, trying to maximize that inside curb, open up the left here. Again, driving it off nice and hard, use all the track. Probably one of the hardest last sectors that we go to, all about flow here, using all the track, trying to keep that minimum corner speed up. Back to second gear for turn 15. Really important to get that inside curb, help pull the car around, watch the track limits on the exit. And then the last corner, really wide entry. We try and open up as much as we can so that when we do get back to the throttle, it's a nice square exit and we can maximize that speed down the front straight. As I said, it's very long, sets up some really good passing opportunities down at turn 1. So hopefully you enjoyed a lap on board with me in the Audi R8, and thanks for tuning in.
Jackson, one of about 4 or 5 different drivers able to run both the SRO GT World Challenge Australia and also Asia. And great to have the New Zealander with us this season. A really strong performer. Unfortunately, that car was one of few to retire yesterday. And so look out for the number 16 to get a good result. Number 15 to get a good result today. Brendan Leach, by the way, in reference to that Australian Championship, leading the Australian Championship after 3 weekends. And Brendan, of course, on the grid with us in the number 72 Ferrari, although over there he does not drive a Ferrari, he drives an Audi, I think it was. The Taiko performers on the grid, a Japanese drumming group operated out of Gotemba, the home, of course, of the International Speedway of Fuji. We're about 15 minutes away from the town of Gotemba, and this Taiko drumming group performing at schools and local events around the area, doing about 50 performances per year, including our trip here to the Fuji International Speedway. Always great to have the culture of each individual event that we go to on the grid. Of course, when we're over in Malaysia and Indonesia, we get the feeling from those locals. And then over here in Japan, the traditional Japanese drums, big main drum made with cowhide stretched over mahogany wood. These different drums have different names. Last year I was able to tell you exactly which one was which, but I didn't pull up that sheet up because somewhere on the grid apparently is a samurai. We need to be careful of the samurai because he'll be attacking people. No, he won't, but he is somewhere in that very, very busy grid. Also, Hana is down there. She's our pit reporter for this weekend. Great to have her with us. And she'll be, in a few moments' time, trying to identify drivers to try and grab. But there's so many fans out there. Even speaking to Team Studi this morning, BMW number 5, they have 120 fans with them this weekend. TV Tokyo, one of the big guests. And there are our samurai doing, obviously, here a performance. The Kamakura Monootho Tai, based in Kamakura, with a particular focus on Kamakura's history of samurai. Samurai traditionally were guards of wealthy noblemen. In the medieval period, they were associated with military service, coming out of the military and hired by local noblemen and wealthy noblemen to protect their land. And at some point, they're the only people in Japanese history to be allowed to carry various weapons. Right, whilst these guys are fighting then, let's go down to Hannah and speak to car 32.
I'm here with the front row, number 32 car, Tom Sargent. How is it in Japan? Is this your first time here in Japan?
It is, actually. It's my first time, obviously, in GT World Challenge Asia and first time in Japan itself. I've really been loving it. I was fortunate enough to come a couple of days early, experience Tokyo a little bit, and now race weekend, I've been blown away. Really, hopefully we can come back.
Do you see any differences in the racing in America versus here?
For sure, there's a lot of differences. I mean, the format of the race itself is the biggest thing. We do 1 3-hour race versus a 2 60-minute race that we see here. But other than that, it's a different level of competition for sure. It's just a different style of racing, slightly different procedures, but I've fallen in love with it.
Well, it's great to see you here. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Really interesting point there from Tom Sargent down on the grid. He's an Australian, but he races in America. He started his life obviously in Australia, but has been making his name in America. They switched actually to a 3-hour endurance format, mirroring the Endurance Championship in Europe, whereas here in Asia and America, in Australia, they still have the sprint format of a single hour and 2 drivers sharing that. And therefore a different approach, of course, with 3-hour races, because the tyres are able to do a full hour stint, as are the cars. So you would run a full hour and then change drivers, whereas here the window is between 35 and 25 minutes. So a need to attack more. And that's a really good question from Hannah about the attitude of driving, because myself and her driving into the circuit here today, we're talking about how Japanese driving and the approach to Super Taiku, for instance, is different to the SRO European style of racing. You really must avoid at all costs any kind of contact. It's disrespectful in Japan to have contact with another driver, whereas in Europe we do like to get our elbows out. We're going to go back down to the grid and speak to the Nissan Nismo team this time.
I'm here with the driver of the 500 car. It's quite a cloudy day here at Fuji. Can't see the top of the mountain yet. Atsushi Miyake 選手、昨日タイヤのパンクトラブルがあって、今日のレースに振り返ってどんなレースをしたいと思いますか？
昨日はトラブルがあったんですけれども、レースに関しては5位まで、オーバーオールの5位まで行きましたし、今回に関しては9番、全体オーバーオールの9番なので、青木さんと力を合わせれば全然チャンスあると思うので、追い上げていきたいなと思います。
日産のファンの皆さんに一言。
その応援団の皆さんがちょうど僕らのピットの前に来てくださっているので、そこでしっかりオーバーオールで勝てるところを見てほしいなと、プレゼントできたらいいなと思います。
Good luck in the race.
頑張ります。ありがとうございます。
So everybody came to support him here today. All of the Nissan fans, he's very happy about it, happy that they were up to 5th yesterday, so they're hoping for a good result today. Thank you.
And once again, the flag bearers are opposite us in the grandstand with their mammoth Nissan Nismo flags that they will be waving every single lap of this 50-minute encounter. The only team I know that carry little flags for all the fans around the world that this car goes. Great to have Nissan Nismo with us. It's supported by Nissan Nismo. It's not just not just a customer entry. And here is a new livery for Luwei. Luwei on the rear wing, enjoying himself, but they've gone black and they've gone to number 11 from number 4, and it gave them a good result yesterday.
Max, pole position. How are you feeling going into today's race?
Yeah, it's nice to obviously be on the front row and starting on pole position. Yesterday we grabbed a P3 in class, which was already a good result. So yeah, let's try to get back to the podium. I think it will be a tough fight with the Porsches. They've been very close to us yesterday already in qualifying and seem to be a step ahead of us in the race. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting race, hopefully.
Yesterday, you mentioned in qualifying the challenges of setup, finding grip between the front and the rear. How do you feel about tire degradation and how it's going to play a role in today's race?
Yeah, it's going to play a huge role, and I think that's also where we're lacking a bit compared to the Porsche in race pace yesterday. We did some adjustments, so let's hopefully they go to the right direction, and yeah, we will fight as hard as we can.
All the best out there.
Thank you.
Great to speak with Max Hesse, who's been racing over in IMSA, leads the GTD Pro Championship with Paul Miller Racing over there, and also racing in GT World Challenge Europe. He did the Nürburgring 24 hours and the races leading up to that. He's doing the Italian GT Championship, as well as the endurance and sprint in Europe, and one guest entry over here. Never been to Fuji, bangs it on the pole position, and this could be the first opportunity for BMW to take a victory in Asia. They have never done so. Got close last year, possibly last year the best opportunity, but with a pole position and Tom Sargent alongside, a good opportunity today. Lili Chow. Lukai Liu was here last year. Lili Chow, that car retiring, unfortunately, yesterday, with Elias Sepanen at the wheel. It's got a new front end on that car, I noticed, a new bumper. It wasn't damage, I didn't think, to that car that caused the car to retire. But either way, slightly changed livery on the front end of that machine. Spoke a moment ago about Brendan Leach. Here is his iridescent livery on the number 72 that will start in 5th position. We're going to go back down to Hana with the 6th position car, Adli Fong.
Adderley, 2 stints all by yourself. How challenging is that physically for you?
Not too bad. Fuji Speedway has a long straight, so you can take a rest and kind of refocus, relax for sector 2 and 3. So the weather here is also helping, and so it's not too bad for 1 hour.
What kind of race are you expecting today?
Not expecting anything. Hopefully get a good start, survive turn 1, and then because I'm driving myself, should be able to make up some spots in the second stint, and we'll see how far ahead we can get.
Good luck out there.
Thank you very much.
Adli Fong starting 6th position, but both him and Akish Nandi in the Lamborghini will have an extra 7 seconds in the pits as they are a single driver entry. Obviously, as a new silver entry last race, as in yesterday's race, Adli had an extra 3 seconds in the pits. That was only applicable for the first race that he's done as a silver, and therefore this is now his second, so he does not have that penalty. Brian Lee and Max Hussein, possibly, if you add their heights up, the tallest combination of drivers. Max well over 6'5", and actually Brian is not that much shorter than Max. Max moving across, he was partnering Tony Kunfan in the number 89 last year, and now Team KRC with 2 cars. Tony ran with a worked BMW driver alongside him, has the pole position, and Brian Lee moving across from a Porsche. Team GTO was always a Porsche, and now partnering with Max. Brian has done a year of GT4 in GT World Challenge, and he has 41 races now to his name in GT World Challenge full fat GT3 cars. The first season, though, in a BMW, a first season outside of driving for Porsche. Max Hussein driving for HRT Ford in GT World Challenge Europe. So he's getting an opportunity to feel what a brand new Multimatic Ford Mustang feels like versus the BMW here in Asia. Jackson Evans, we saw on board with him. Didn't get a chance to race yesterday because Andres Pato had contact at lap number 1. They've had a 5-place grid drop because of that contact, and so they are slightly out of position. Row 5, 9th position for Jackson Evans. And he will start, so we'll have to watch out how well that 15 does. The 16 is just 1 row back with James Kuai qualifying as a silver in the midst of the pro cars. So a highly unusual front row of the grid with a BMW from KRC on the left-hand side, their very first pole position. Hoping to translate that into a victory, as Max alluded to on the grid there. Long run pace, not quite as good as single lap pace. What does that mean? It means they are not extracting or preserving their tyres quite as good as the Porsches. We saw the Audi, particularly of James Kuai, struggling in the final sector. He could not get the car out of the final sector. Let's go back down to Hannah.
You were purple before, and now you're in black. Is there a certain story behind this livery? How are you liking the new livery?
Yeah, I think just black is a lucky color for me, and the team came up with this idea also to change the starting number, sort of to set a sign to turn the season around. We had a good race yesterday, and we hope to continue like this today.
And yesterday you were awarded a success penalty. So what is the strategy behind overcoming that?
Yeah, so we're carrying 5 seconds for today. So 5 seconds longer pit stop, of course. You want to be as far ahead as possible before the pit stop, and then see where we end up after the pit stop for Luwei's second stint.
Good luck out there.
Lauren Heinrich, absolute star in race number 1. His 7th start yesterday. His 8th start today. That car has been runner-up in 2025. It was 3rd in 24 and 23, but a championship leader this year. That car's purple. They don't seem to have any problem with the color purple being unlucky. In fact, yesterday was their worst result of the season, with Ghiretti just not moving anywhere in the second part of the race, finishing 9th by the end, so some points for the championship, but outside of that, it's been a 1st, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd. They will start right in the middle of the pack, down on row 7. They came into the pits at the early part of qualifying 2 to gain an extra set of tyres, to go out and try another second new set in qualifying, and basically he didn't extract the performance. So it's double punishment for him, because he starts in the middle of the pack and he's used up or taken that shine off a new set of Pirellis. It's going to be hard work. This could be a hard weekend for the 911, and don't think that they will blame it on the purple livery. We kind of had a purple car win the race yesterday with the 96. In fact, here is the 96 on board. Little purple stripes. That's a big change of livery as well, with a new driver alongside Liu Kai-shun in Harmony Racing's team owner David Cheng, who did a really good job. But it's a silver-silver combination, and so Liu Kai-shun qualifying a little bit lower than he previously did. Cars rolling on the grid. Before we have a look at the grid itself, we welcome Sandy Stuvik to the commentary box. How are we feeling, Stanley, going into the second race?
Hi, Ben. Yes, feeling very good. I'm excited. I mean, the start of race 2 is always going to be action-packed with all the pros vying for position, so I'm looking forward to T1. Hopefully everyone stays clean and we can have an exciting race.
There's a great respect between the pro drivers, but they do want to get themselves in good positions for their amateur drivers, and really importantly, hand over the car to the amateur drivers. They do not want to find themselves retired with the person that pays the bill not getting a chance to sit in the car. So yes, priority number 1 is racing, but in the back of their mind, they know who pays the bills, and they know that they need to get those cars to the midpoint of the race.
Yeah, definitely. So all the pros will be pushing as hard as they can, trying to make those gaps, and then in the second stint we'll depend on the pace of the AM, and then of course we'll look to the silvers trying to make their way up in the second stint as well.
Here is the grid then. As we said, pole position for the AM category is Climax Racing. and Setuan Santosho. Pole position for silver is Harmony Racing's Adelie Fong. And in silver Am, the car that does not score points on the front row of the grid alongside the Pro-Am pole position, which is Team KRC, Tony Ruohan and Max Hesse. And the grid looks like this. Hesse and Sargent on row number 1. Lauren Heinrich and Elias Sepanen on row number 2. Look out for that Mercedes. It really does need a good result today. Brendan Leach starts on row number 3 alongside Adelie Fong, and all Ferrari row number 3 from Harmony Racing, with Max Hussein in 7th and that very fast Nissan in 8th position, the 500 machine. Jackson Evans grid drop down to 9th after a penalty from contact yesterday, alongside Porsche Center Okazaki's number 25. Thierry Vermeulen starts 11th in an Audi alongside Andy Tan in that car. James Kuai in 12th position. And then the second position, the runner-up from yesterday, only 13th for Roy Uagawa, and success penalty for that car. Alessandro Ghiretti, championship leader, 14th only. Him and Dorian Boccolacci seem to be sharing the same part of the circuit all weekend. He'll start 15th. Yang Jiatong in 16th position. The winner from yesterday only starting in 17th. We can pretty much write off any chances for that car with 26 extra seconds in the pit lane. Katsuro Kotaka in the 18. Then Akish Nandi will be disappointed with the Silver Championship leader starting only a 19th spot alongside the Team Studi BMW. Then you have the AMs. Climax Racing, Garage 75. Championship leaders starting 3rd in AM for Origin Motorsport. The new Malaysian combination in 24th and AMAC Motorsport in 25th. Opportunity for them to have a good result, with Ben Porter taking over the car from Andrew McPherson in the second stint. Plenty of race queens down in the paddock as well. A real festival atmosphere, as you come to expect from the SRO Power Tour. This is the first race of the day, with the Japan Cup coming later on this afternoon. You may think that GT World Challenge Asia is just full of Asian mechanics and drivers. Well, no, they ship in the Italians and the Germans to run these cars to the very highest level. And you heard from Tom Sargent, the level of this grid is really, really high. In comparison to the Americans, well, he reckons this one is stronger. 2 safety car laps then. After the first safety car lap, the clock begins. After the second safety car lap, we will go racing, and that is now. There will be a side-by-side roll towards the lights. It is an incredibly long, pretty much kilometre run down to the start line, and then we can go racing.
Yeah, it seems that the leaders have gone very quick, because the tail of the pack is still going through turn 14, but there's a very long straight, so they've got plenty of time to get themselves into position before we get to the lights out.
They're going to have good grip and confidence in those tyres in the AM cars at the tail of the field, whilst the temperature dissipates on the front of the grid. Those cars at the back will have been flat out. Let's see how this goes. Watch out for Lauren Heinrich in that black number 11. He is going to be an incredibly aggressive, fast starter. He knows he needs to make a gap of at least 5 seconds to negate the success from yesterday. But I'm sure Max Hesse will have something to say about that. Tom Sargent in the pink machine. Elias Sepanen in the Mercedes behind him. Brendan Leach and Adelie Fong on row number 3. We wait for the lights to turn off and we can go racing. Here we go, the field spreads out towards turn number 1, and that big BMW occupying the inside line. Coming into turn number 1, it looks like Brendan Leach has been a little bit slow in the middle of the pack, and one of the Porsche Center Okazaki cars has turned around and delayed the Ferrari as well. There's an Audi off again at the back of the field, and Lauren Heinrich going side by side with Tom Sargent. Sargent holds the inside line. Heinrich trying to go around the outside. That becomes the inside line and puts the German into P2. Now he sets about pursuing the big BMW up ahead of him. Brendan Leach has got himself back up into 4th position. That's been a good start eventually from him, and Sepanen's lost a couple of positions in the Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely. Quite a clean start aside from that small contact in T1, but yeah, we saw the AMG fall back a few spots. Looks like Brendan Leach has made some, but most importantly, Max Hess retains the lead and will now be looking to make a gap while they squabble behind.
Sepanen very aggressive on the Nissan Nismo, squeezing him almost off the circuit. That compromises him. He loses a second position to one of the Audis. Now, is that Jackson Evans? I think it might be, which means the one that we saw off at the tail of the field was James Kuai. There he is, and that is disastrous for the Silver Championship.
Yeah, really unfortunate for James, but as we've seen, he's got pace, so hopefully he can claw it back.
Sargent's been muscled off the line. He's dropped another position to Brendan Leach. Brendan desperately wanting a good result in GT World Challenge Asia to fly the flag and say, look at me, I am one of the very best pros in GT3 racing. He's leading the championship in Australia, and now he's going toe-to-toe, side-by-side with Tom Sargent, leader of the Pro-Am standings in America, and it is shortly going to be the Ferrari, although they continue to run side-by-side. Brendan elbows the Porsche off the side of the circuit. Not the kind of thing you do if you are racing in a Japanese championship, but fair game in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the outside, so small chance of that working.
Right, now let's have a look at the start of the race once again. Particularly want to know what happened to James Kuai. So look in the middle of the pack. And we also had the number 25 turned around. So James is right on the outside, the number 16 right in the middle. And I'm just not sure he's going to have a chance to turn in. No, he can't turn in because the Porsche Center Okazaki car's spun. And he's also got the 60 Ferrari on the inside of it.
Yeah, he had to take avoiding action there not to damage his Audi.
I say, so that's good news in that there wasn't contact. So it's not a damaged car. Bad news that he lost a huge amount of positions, and he really is at the tail of the field. It looks as though the number 51, which is Andrew McPherson, spun at the chicane on lap number one. So he's going to be wanting a safety car to bunch the field back up, because McPherson, one of the slower AM drivers in the field, and he's already 26 seconds back over his nearest contender.
Yeah, as we see, Lauren Heinrich looks like he's starting to make inroads on Max Hess in the lead. Should be a good fight coming up soon. Now we see Thierry Vermeulen behind that 500 Nissan. Wow, a lot of fights going on. Adderley also trying to get past Boccolacci.
Adderley on Boccolacci at the back of the pack. Here's Vermeulen on the Nissan. Amazing to see he's got the legs to be able to keep with him. Boccolacci down the inside, and actually that's opened the door. Huang has opened the door for Ghiretti to follow through. As I said, those two French Italians have been on the same part of the circuit all weekend, and they continue to swabble. Huang holds the inside line, and Ghiretti's going to be forced wide here. Ghiretti wants that inside line through the sweeping turn 5 to hold the position. That's put Huang offline and now opens the door to Usain.
Yeah, these corners keep leading into each other, so if you're out of line for one, but you can stay on the inside for the next, it really provides great racing around here.
Still side by side. Max Usain, the Dutchman, alongside Adderley Huang, who's a single driver, silver driver. They're both silver rated drivers. And around the outside, the first part of the Cheng gives you the inside. For the second part, he shuts the door to stop Adderley Huang from continuing to switch back. Still they go at it, and this is going to invite the 96, who snatches a position from his teammate. Now they run side by side. Oh, and Huang is just being bullied off the circuit here, because now Kotaka is attacking him.
Yeah, as soon as you're out of place, out of position here, you lose the momentum, and then the car behind coming with a full line can take advantage of that and stick a nose in somewhere.
Let's gather our thoughts then. Hesse, Heinrich, Leach is your top three. Leader of the silver AM category. Tom Sargent in 4th position, Sepanen in 5th. Then it's Jackson Evans. Miyake in the best silver in 7th position. Vermeulen fighting with him. And then Boccolacci, Ghiretti, Usain, and Liu Kai-shun, Adderley Huang, Kotaka, that battle we've just been watching. On board with Liu Kai-shun. I said write him off. I still think we possibly will need to. Started 17th and has had a really, really good first couple of laps to move up through the field. But he does have 26 seconds of success penalty. 15 for winning the race, plus 11 for being a silver entry. So he will desperately not want a safety car period. He wants the field to elongate as much as possible. But of course, in the second part of the race, David Cheng, as a silver, gets into the car, and the theory is makes progress up through the field. And so in comparison to a Pro-Am entry, the maths suggests that the silver are on average in a stint 11 seconds better, and that is why that 11 seconds exists. Whether that is reality or not, you know, we work on BOP in theories and in maths, and we do the same thing with our success penalties. Let's have a look then at the field as they come towards us down this 1 mile straight. Leach looking to the inside. Is that a defense or an attack? No, I think it's just getting some air into the cockpit. They're not close enough. Tom Sargent shuffled down to 4th position after the start. Here's Vermeulen. That's a latent look down the inside of Miyake. As I say, hard to fight this Nissan. We saw that yesterday, but Vermeulen getting at least alongside him. We've seen Thierry Vermeulen racing in a Ferrari in Europe for Verstappen.com. And that was the reason why he got drafted in alongside Andy Tan. But Absolute Corsa, Absolute Racing, choosing to use their grandfathered Audi R8 rather than the Ferrari for this weekend. And I think that, as I said yesterday, is a good idea. Because for Andy Tan, who, yes, he's been racing Ferraris all of his career. He's been in Ferrari Challenge, so logistically and logically, sorry, not logistically, he wants to ride a Ferrari in GT3, but there are cars that are easier for AMs and there are cars that are harder for AMs, and I think the Audi is one of the easier ones.
Yeah, definitely correct, but as we've seen this weekend, the Ferrari really seems to be on pace, especially at the hands of a Silva, or as we see Leach up in 3rd position. So I think the Ferrari was good, but I'm sure they had their reasons to swap to an Audi this weekend.
Brendan Leach showing that car with JJ Song, both relative rookies to the championship. JJ doing a Lamborghini Super Trofeo, the winner in Fuji last year, so likes this circuit. And Brendan will be hoping that JJ doesn't lose too much time in the second half of the race. This is our Silver Am leader. Just park in the back of your mind that the 32 will not actually take points. So yes, he leads Silver Am, but in theory the points will go to Sepanen behind in 2nd position. Therefore for Elias, number 1, doesn't need to fight him too hard, doesn't need to panic too much. Number 2, Sepanen has a probably stronger teammate that he'll be handing over to. And therefore, Elias Sepanen there, the car retiring yesterday with a technical problem, is effectively your race leader. Max Hussein, 7.2 seconds back in his BMW. As I say, I'm not sure I remember that car having a carbon black front to the car, but actually now I see it from an outside point of view, maybe it is that livery. And he has Jackson Evans just on his tail right now. Oh, Ruohan looks to the inside of the BMW and snatches the position, but Max Hesse will try and get the switch back. He gets on the power very, very early, and here comes Brendan Leach. It was a bit too aggressive, I think, from Lauren Heinrich, and Hesse trying to get the inside line, but it squeezed the 3, and they're going to go 3 wide here. Leach trying to get around the outside of the 2 of them, and Lauren Heinrich's got that side draft that worked so well for him yesterday, but Leach has the better run, and Brendan Leach takes the lead. What battling from our pros!
Wow, incredible battling there, and we could just see them using the side draft to their advantage. Brendan Leach really doing a fantastic job, benefiting from the draft of both of those cars to take the lead.
One might say, if you were another commentator, pick the pocket of the other 2. Whilst they were not looking, they were fighting amongst themselves, and they certainly were not paying attention to that iridescent Ferrari, which is hard to do because it shines so brightly, although, to be fair, in this sort of mug that we've got today, perhaps doesn't reflect quite as much, as apparently that car actually glints in the sunlight in mirrors, and so you really know when it's coming. Brendan Leach, your new race leader for Harmony Racing. in second position. Lauren Heinrich, third for Max Hesse. He said the car is not as good in long runs as it is on one lap pace. And I mean, instantly Hesse seems to have lost pace to those other two. It feels almost sort of cliff-like that.
Yeah, perhaps the BMW just struggling to keep those tires on. Front engine, rear is light. Maybe they're struggling just to put the traction down. I mean,
don't forget though that Lauren Heinrich has that 5 seconds success penalty. The cars around him do not have any success penalty, so it will drop back and it will rely upon Liu Wei to do the work. Now, whoa, Brendan, what is that? That was like the sort of flick you do in karting.
yeah.
When you back the kart into the turn.
Yeah.
I don't know if he meant to do that.
Looks like he went defensive, maybe expecting a late lunge from Heinrich.
I remember back in the day, a long time ago, do you remember the driver Giorgio Pantano in Formula
yes.
One? He used to race for Jordan Grand Prix, and the race engineer of his race engineer at Jordan, saw on the telemetry traces that every time he got into a big braking zone, he'd just tweak the steering wheel just a little bit. He was an incredible karter, and he just never was able to get that out of his mind, that you brake and flick the kart just a little bit, put it sideways, because that creates even more retardation. Not a style that we use any longer, particularly in GT3 racing, and Brendan seems to have got away with it.
Yeah, very well kept there by Brendan, but let's see now. Heinrich extremely strong in Sector 3 with that Porsche. Can he get something lined up and use the draft down the straight?
What a pleasure for these drivers to be racing alongside Lauren Heinrich, who really is the star of the show, one of the very best GT3 drivers, universally respected for his racecraft, what he's able to do. He does come from sim racing if you trace him that far back, but whether it's in GT3, whether it's in hypercar, he absolutely is a consummate professional, and he just seems to be the only one that's able to make that Porsche work here this weekend. Now, Brendan, you don't need to defend this time. Lauren is not close enough. The Ferrari clearly has good straight line speed.
Yeah, good enough to defend, and Brendan's also doing a great job to make sure he lines up that exit out of 16 to not make himself vulnerable into T1.
Car 20 with a drive-through penalty for causing a collision at turn number 10. So that is a little jostle that has happened in lap number 1. So we said that McPherson was facing the wrong direction. It was the Malaysians, our guest Malaysians of Yong and O. There's actually Aaron Lim and Hazik O, but Aaron Lim has got 2 other names, so he's known as Yong on our timing screens. And haven't seen too much of them. Wonderful livery on that car, and unfortunately going into the pit lane. There's Jackson Evans. Vermeulen now in his Audi has caught up with him. There is the 20. We get a chance to look at that stunning livery, pop art livery. Kevin Haring, is that right, Tom?
Keith Haring.
Keith Haring, thank you very much. Well done, Sandy. I was amazed when our press officer wrote that and knew about that. I had to Google it.
As Heinrich has got past Brendan Leach.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Good. Well, no, I wonder where that happened around the circuit. Usually our splits will be able to tell us. It looks like it was in Sector 3, so potentially in the chicane. And Lauren going defensive into turn number 1. Just trying that Ferrari has got ultimate straight line speed. It is quicker and down at the very end of the straight. So if Brendan can just keep up through that final sector where the Porsche seems so strong, then he still has the opportunity. But just look how good Lauren Heinrich is. Bye-bye, checked out. Thanks very much for playing.
Yeah, that's allowed Max Hesse to get right up behind.
Yeah, all of a sudden, maybe a couple of laps where Max has just been nursing his Pirelli tyres, trying not to overheat them, because they are so sensitive to being overworked, aren't they, Sandy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly don't want to be sliding. You don't want to cause any unnecessary heat like that.
Like that, yeah, exactly. So if you can just not slide at all, as Heinrich four-wheel drifts out of that wonderful right-hander, then you can bring the temperatures down, then they start sticking better.
Yes, so trying to keep those pressures in check. I mean, you do have the long straight, which brings them down a little bit, but Sector 3 is so demanding. I mean, just the nature of the track just munches those rear tires away. So we'll get to see the strategy of different drivers playing out, who is trying to save a little bit more tires for the end of their stint and who's just going all out.
So Lauren Heinrich leads, Brendan Leach in second, Max Hesse third. Drive-through penalty for our AM lead, well, was our AM leader, now second position for Huang, down in 22nd spot. They've got a drive-through penalty already for track limits. I wonder whether we're being a little bit more aggressive from race control on track limits today than we were yesterday. We didn't really get many track limit penalties. We got warnings, but we didn't get as far as actually penalising drivers. And I don't know what Origin have done, but they seem to have a different spec of Porsche to Absolute and to Phantom Global, because it's just in a different league.
Yeah, it's all season really. We've seen it be very, very strong at the hands of Lauren Heinrich, and then certainly at the last round with Luke Hartog, I believe. Yes.
Picariello. Loic Hartog was in the 37. Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, so Loic Hartog taking victory in the 37, replacing Boccalacci.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right, but the others were not very strong there. It was almost like there's one strong one per weekend. I don't know whether there's some sort of strategy, BOP strategy on that one. Possibly, possibly not. If you're a manufacturer and you can say, well, yeah, there was one car that was strong, but everyone else was weak.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult, but I think we need to commend Sargent here, who's come from America to race with us. He did a fantastic job in the quali, even out-qualified Lauren Heinrich, which I think surprised many people.
Yeah, and absolutely loving his racing. First time here in America, looking to the inside of Max Hesse. He's got a little bit of damage to the Porsche that may require some duct tape on that front right corner. He's lucky, actually, it's not catching too much air and ripping off. But Tom will be handing over to Kyle Washington as the number 22 pink Origin Porsche comes into the pits to serve its drive-through penalty. Amazing to have a penalty already. I mean, how many? We're 38 minutes still to go, so he's obviously been off track a lot.
He must have benefited a lot if the stewards deemed that a drive-through was necessary.
Doing it at turn number 3, so that's the fast mid-speed left-hander running wide on exit there, just opening the wheel.
Still arguable. I mean, you wouldn't gain that much because you're so compromised for 4 and 5 then that, but
rules are rules.
Yep.
4 wheels over the white line, and if you do that 6 times, then you get yourself a penalty. And he's managed to do that already. Brendan does look like he's starting to struggle. There's a bit of a queue forming behind the number 72. Hesse there, Sargent, Sepanen, Miyake and Evans. I don't know if Thierry Vermeulen is part of that party. No, 1 second off. So not quite there. And I suppose you'd say Jackson Evans isn't quite there either to benefit from the slipstream. But our pro drivers now still got roughly 10 minutes to go. The pit window is going to open in the next 1 minute and 40 seconds. And we would start to see some pit callers. The Silvers and the AMs may come into the pits, but don't expect anyone else for at least 10 minutes. Lauren Heinrich has built a 2.3 second lead. On the order form from Lu Wei, it's 5 seconds, please. But then if you look at Lu Wei versus JJ Song, who will take over from Brendan Leach, Tony Huang from Max Hesse, Kyle Washington from Tom Sargent, Lili Chow from Ellis Sepanen. Actually, you'd have to say, considering the compression of the field, the 500 could get a victory here, and wouldn't that put a big smile on Nissan's face? Dean Cheng gets himself ready. His car's down in 12th position, the winner from yesterday. 5 different winners in 5 opening races in this year's championship. Not uncommon, it is that competitive. This is race number 88 of GT World Challenge Asia, if you are counting. There has been 23 victories to Porsche, 15 to Audi, 13 to Ferrari. Mercedes have had 21 wins, but crucially for me anyway, BMW have had 0 victories. Is this a possibility today with Tony Huang? Or maybe Nissan, with 1 victory back in 2018, a victory apiece in the last couple of years. In fact, was it not here? No, it wasn't here where they won last year. It was in Beijing where they won race 1, but have been competitive here. Actually, this car is being kept competitive across the calendar. It doesn't seem to necessarily have its preferred track. Right, pit caller's coming. Akash Nandi's in the pits already. And James Kuai ready to hand over to Frankie Cheng. Riding on board with the 500, Sandy, how's it looking?
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, we didn't really see it making much inroads on the AMG on the straights, so clearly that AMG quite potent on the straights as well.
Now, Lauren Heinrich's got a little bit of traffic here, and he's caught Andrew McPherson in the wrong part of the circuit. McPherson kind enough to open the door for him and let him through, but that may compromise just a little bit at this point. Still trying to build that 5-second advantage. The advantage 2.7 seconds at last check. And here comes the rest of the train of pro drivers. Though McPherson diving straight into the pits at the earliest opportunity to give that car to Ben Porter. Clearly the faster of the 2 AMs in that car. And they've had better results in the second races. David Chen is going to get the 96. Kuai, who did an incredible job yesterday, but slightly hamstrung. And don't forget, this car 26-second extra because it took victory yesterday and because it's a silver.
That's a hefty pit stop compensation.
Yeah, different rules to last year. So last year all silvers had a slightly longer penalty. This year only if you're in the top 3 you get a bigger penalty. It does mean that if you're outside the top 3 then you can benefit. The 500 for instance, in theory the 16 should have done. We said yesterday, oh yeah great, he finished 4th. That means he won't get any success penalty, because for a silver the minimum success penalty you're going to get is 16 seconds if you finish in 3rd position. Door shuts and now the countdown continues.
Yeah, he's probably got around 40 seconds as he straps himself into the car, just making sure the radios are good, the belts are good, drink system if he has it, and then they'll just be waiting for that countdown.
Heinrich out the final turn. Leach is still 2nd. Hess still 3rd. Sargent, Sepanen, Miyake. I wonder whether the Nissan might try something different here. Aoki, they're both silvers. Not quite sure. I would have said probably Miyake the stronger of the 2, right?
Yes, judging the pace, Miyake does have a few tenths over Aoki.
But if you can get yourself out of that train, yes, it's a fast train, it's moving at pro level, but just put yourself on a different part of the circuit, maybe open the door, you know what the pros are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday the undercut was quite powerful, so maybe coming in, putting a fresh set of rubbers on will benefit them a bit.
Ben Porter coming right out, back into the traffic again, so he's having to watch his mirrors as these leaders come through. That's not ideal in his charge back through the field. Adley Fong, by the way, with a pit stop down there in 21st position. So all silvers actually have made their stop. The only one that hasn't is the 500. And we know that these pros around the 500 are not going to pit for another couple of laps.
Yeah, silver's definitely trying to use that undercut to their advantage. They'll be out hot tires as the AMs come out, and you know the outlap is so crucial. So if you lose a couple seconds there, I mean, that's definitely valuable time.
You can see just in the back of the shot, the 500 is really struggling, I think, with its rear tires. Obviously a big heavy car. Getting it to the end of the stint is a bit of a struggle, and Jackson Evans really crawling all over the back of the GTR that now chooses to come into the pit. So that will release Evans. Does that mean that Evans gets a chance to push? No. Oh, okay, so decides against it. Surely that was a miscommunication or a change of decision there.
Yeah, perhaps, but he did not cross the dotted line, so he stayed on track, and nothing wrong with that.
Wonder whether that was almost a little bit of a play to Jackson.
Maybe he was trying to fake him out.
Jackson thinking, okay, well, he's going to the pits. I don't need to push too hard into turn one. Oh, actually, no, he's not. I should have attacked a little harder.
Yeah.
Certainly broke the slipstream, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And Jackson didn't follow him.
No.
So Jackson's definitely not thinking I'm fighting at this point.
No. Maybe he was trying to sell him a dummy, but I mean, Jackson is going to swap over to Andres Pato, so regardless, they would want him to stay out for at least another 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. Pato, one of the stronger AMs in the field, so good position once again for the 15 that didn't score any points yesterday after that contact at turn number 1, but has scored 2 podiums in Mandalika and got a 7th position in Malaysia as well. It has been a great start for the FAW Phantom Audi, which you would suspect is an older car with little support. Is he on the... He's not on the radio. I wonder whether he was on the radio there. And I don't know if we've got the right audio to tell whether he was backing off or not there.
Yeah, I don't think that was the right audio. I mean, if he backed off that much on the straight, he would have definitely lost the position, as now...
This is more obvious. Look, these are unbolting things.
Yeah.
You might have even heard the radio there. A little bit of interference. And so at least 1 lap difference, maybe 2, between the Silver and the cars around him.
As we see Atsushi Miyake just unplugging all the air devices, all the belts from his helmet and seat to allow Aoki in the car.
Little battle for 12th position going on circuit between Kotaka and Ogawa, the 18 and the 60. They have yet pitted. And here is Heinrich. Now, oh gosh, 4.5 seconds. He might well do this before the pit stops. Literally just metronomic, isn't he? We want 5 seconds, Lauren. All right then, no problem. And he's got 2.5 minutes to do it. And I think it is going to be absolutely bang on, which is going to provide us with epic entertainment in the second half of the race. Again, it's been an incredibly clean affair. We've come to Fuji over in years past, and it's been absolute chaos. But race 1 was really good and clean, beautiful driving from everybody. And race 2 seemingly very, very similar. The 500 is serviced. It's going to come out on beautifully clean track by the looks of things. Another great opportunity to not be caught up in traffic too much. And Lauren Heinrich continues for another lap. 2 minutes left before the pits shut. And Max Hesse comes towards the line. He's going to pit, as is Elias Sepainen from 5th position. So giving away perhaps 1 lap there. Anyone I would have thought further back is going to have to dive into the pits, because now we're getting a bit too tight on time. And nobody should miss the pits. But because the timer and the position of the cars on track, it has allowed Heinrich, Leach and Sargent to do 1 more lap before they hand over to their AMs. Into the pits, Liang Jiatong with a new teammate this weekend. Dean Chen unfortunately not able to participate, so the Japan Cup champion Daisuke Yamawaki alongside him. Actually not very much GT World Challenge experience, but basically by doing Japan Cup last year has very, very similar experience. And he raced in Fuji back in 2018, so has obviously knows this circuit. Any Japanese driver worse there, so will know Fuji very, very well. Whether you race in Super GT, Super Taiku, or in SRO GT World Challenge. And the pit lane getting busy. There is the 72 of Brendan Leach. He is out on circuit. I think the tracker's getting confused at the moment. Into the pits comes our leader, Lauren Heinrich then. Done exactly what was asked of him. Got himself to the lead of the race. Has created just about a 5-second gap. And one lap behind, the Nissan comes over the line with clear track ahead of him. But actually, he's going to be behind all of these cars. And that is for position. So why is that? That is a bit strange. It must have been a slow pit stop for the 500 because he's lost a huge amount of ground. Now, of course, he's going to have hot tyres versus cold tyres for AM drivers ahead of him. But I'm surprised that he's lost that many positions. And it looks like it's Tony Ruohan who leads on this lap at the moment. Boccolacci has handed over to one of the very best AM drivers in Anthony Liu in second position. And then Anders Pato in third spot. But that is excluding our top three who are in the pits now. Heinrich with that extra 5 seconds for Liu Wei. No such success penalty for this 89 car. No such success penalty for the 72, but it seems to be taking a bit of time to get JJ bolted in. There's no such rush, but everything's been done here at Origin. Now, surely, it's going to be a slow stop. Sure, it's going to be a slow stop for the 72. No way on earth should the 11 be past the 72. And he gets released, but there's no advantage.
It's a long pit lane, locked at 50 kilometers per hour. But it looks like the 11 may just come out in front of the 89 and retain the lead.
I don't know how that's even possible. In terms of the success penalty that number 11 had, the math says that it doesn't make any sense. The 89 should have easily taken the lead of the race, but it must have been a slow penalty, a slow pit stop, or it's a fast pit stop for Origin. I mean, I don't have that particular timing screen in front of me. Either way, 11 retains the lead. 72 is second. Third is 89, ahead of 32. So Kyle Washington in that pink car just at the back of shot there sits in fourth position. And Tony Ruohan in third. Anthony Liu is going to gobble up Kyle Washington behind, around the outside of Kyle. And such is the confidence of a man that's got 7 victories to his name, that's basically racing every year, bar one of GT World Challenge Asia. Easy pickings for that red and yellow Phantom Run Porsche. I mean, you can understand those that pitted one lap earlier may have had a different in-lap or out-lap, but those that pitted on the same lap, that 11 shouldn't have really mathematically had an advantage over, should have had a disadvantage over the 72. So, this is the order then. Liu Wei in 11th, in the number 11, in the lead by 4.4 seconds, so the gap exactly the same pre-pit stop. JJ Song in second position, Tony Ruohan in third position, Anthony Liu in fourth. Then we have Kyle Washington in the 32, Anders Pato in the 15. Oh, and the 911 nearly going into the back of the 500. That is Ron Huang with Aoki ahead of him. So hard to do though, Sandy, going into turn number one because you've been on the power for so long.
Yeah, I mean, just lost the rear slightly, kind of similar to what we saw Brendan Leach do earlier in this race.
Here's Aoki down in 7th position. So he's even lost ground since the pit stops.
Did the 500 have any like compensation time or something? I would have expected them to be slightly higher up, but I mean, at the hands of Aoki now against the AMs, he's definitely gonna, or maybe he's just gonna let Andres Pato stick his nose in first, see if he can benefit round the outside here. Hopefully Washington has seen him, which he has not.
He hasn't. He squeezes the Nissan onto the curb.
Yep.
Now he sees him, and poor old Carl Washington is going to be driving this stint in his mirrors as all of these AM drivers, and certainly that silver squabbles him up. It's going to be tough work for Carl Washington. He spun on lap number 1 of race number 1, which meant he just had to focus on going forwards after that. But this is going to be a baptism of fire. Came here to race at Fuji, made the request at the very early part of the year to come in and join the GT World Challenge Asia, and we welcome with open arms, and it's great to have them. They don't score points because they don't have an Asian driver in their lineup, and that is the regulation in GT World Challenge Asia. But that is why they're in invitation. Well, let's go down to pit lane to Hana, who is down at Origin and speaking to Lauren Heinrich.
A great stint from you. Another brilliant overtake in Sector 3, the most technical part of the track. Could you tell us a little bit about your stint?
Yeah, I had a good start. I mean, I knew that we carry a 5-second penalty right from yesterday, so yeah, my goal was to be P1 and make our 5-second gap ideally, but it's not so easy because following was very hard. Once I got into the lead, I could build a nice gap, which was, I think, on the last lap, just under 5 seconds. But then I gave it my everything, as you can see on the in-lap. I had a mega pit entry, which is quite high commitment here in Fuji Speedway, and we could come out in the lead, so everything worked perfect, and I hope that Wei Lu can bring it home.
It was a really interesting battle with 3 cars using the slipstream on the front straight. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how that works?
Yeah, I think the last sector is so technical. You know, it's all about how you set it up. If you prioritize the entry or the exit for the long straight, and I had to make a move, so I had a poor exit. So we were 3 wide on the straight using the side draft, which was cool because I already get some experience from yesterday's race using the side draft. So I could use it to my advantage and in the end go for the move, but it was some really cool racing.
Great job out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seems as though the side draft works better than the normal draft, doesn't it, down that main straight?
Yeah, it's really, I guess you push all that air onto the rear wing of the other car and just effectively slow them down on the straight.
Oh no, 27 back in pits, Climax Racing retiring that car yesterday at a very similar time, and they were leading Silver Am, and so another DNF, and down the inside goes Huang on Andres Pato. That's for 6th position, a nice aggressive move. He tried to do that on the 500 a lap ago. The 500's got past Andres Pato. They continue to run side by side into turn number 3 through this left-hander. Pato's going to be forced onto the outside, but that becomes the inside line for 5, and they run side by side once more. What Pato wants is that inside line for this next turn. He's not going to have it. And Huang spends the whole of the first sector to make the move stick, but gets it done. Gutting for Climax Racing. Clearly a problem with their Mercedes, and Mercedes in the global point standings, they need that Silver Am car to get some good points. On a place where Porsche has 9 cars, they need the Mercedes to work well for them. And unfortunately, certainly this weekend, that particular Climax car has not. They have a second Climax car, but it's an AM car, so it isn't going to score big points overall. And then, of course, the third machine is the Craft Bamboo machine. So a little bit of an answer. Exactly 5 seconds. The 11 was exactly 5 seconds longer in the pits than the 72. So Heinrich built the gap, and it was all about the in and the out laps. And 500, so the Nissan gave away 3 seconds in its pit stop. Anthony Liu to the inside of Tony Ruohan now. He's a big mover, isn't he, in this second half of the race, and that was easy pickings. This car taking victory in Mandalika in race number 2, thanks to Luke Hartog, as the 60 makes a move. We saw them fighting pre-pit stop for 12th position. It's continued to be a battle for 12th position, and Wakisaka moving up to 12th. It'll be soon be 11th because Kyle Washington is the next one to dive down the inside of, and that has happened. This can't be a lot of fun for poor Kyle.
No, poor Kyle Washington. I mean, having to face the Asian AMs at arguably their home tracks, if you could call it that. I have to say the level of the Asian AMs is incredibly high. A lot of these guys have been doing this, as you say, almost since the beginning of GT World Challenge Asia, so plenty of experience on the grid.
JJ Song in the 72 opens the door. Liu just snatches the position. Is that Porsche now suddenly becoming a force in this second half of the race? It's almost as though for the AM it's a good car, but for the Pro it's not got the pace, or the AM needs a different car. Wei Liu is happy driving a Pro car,
yeah,
whereas actually Anthony Liu needs a different setup.
Yeah, perhaps the setup that they have to run kind of compromises the Pro a bit, but I mean, if Anthony Liu can do this with the car, I think it's worth it.
Well, Liu up to second position, 9.5 the gap to Wei Liu at the head of the field, and Song's open the door here for Tony Ruohan to nibble up the inside. He is going to get this done on the exit. The big BMW with the traction out of turn number 1. And unfortunately, the iridescent Harmony Ferrari dropping down to 4th position now. But Wei Liu versus Anthony Liu for the lead. 10 seconds the difference. Again, it's not going to be a BMW victory here, is it? Tony Ruohan, 3rd position, probably an overall podium now, unless Aoki in that Nissan has good pace. What is the Nissan's pace? Last lap, a 40.7. So yeah, actually, watch out for the Nissan closing in on all of these cars. Ron Huang, 6th position behind the Nissan. Adley Fong 7th, second best silver. Then Pato. I just saw that race control have given a drive-through penalty for car 98. So Andy Tan is going to have to bring the 98 Audi into pit lane that's running up in 9th position. Wacky Saka on the move, because we saw him making a move for 12th position. Well, he's already up in 9th. So that Ferrari doing really, really well in the hands of the gentleman driver. 35 starts in GT World Challenge Asia. Second, his best result yesterday, beating his best result previously, which was back in 2022. And of course, 2022 was the year where we didn't really have much of an international field after COVID.
Yeah, really strong pace from the 60 Ferrari, comparable with the leaders right now.
Look, Adley Fong going through shot there on the tail of Ron Huang for 6th position. There is Wacky Saka with a bit of space in front of him, and the 98 serving its drive-through penalty. I'm afraid that's annoying for Andy Tan. It's a driver that we want to see more of. Anderson Tanoto, an incredibly well-known man in Indonesia, Sandy. You know him pretty well. His family, incredibly successful and wealthy, and a massive philanthropist. Oh, I can get it out. A really, really lovely guy as well.
Yeah, really lovely guy, and it's always a pleasure to have him and Terry with us in the team at Absolute. So hopefully we'll see more of them in the future.
Wonder what his report has been from driving an Audi rather than a Ferrari. I know, your brand allegiance might be that you want to drive a Ferrari, but if you're faster and more comfortable in a different car, maybe that changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're here to race, and if one car can give you a better result or a better feeling, then, you have to be objective and just pick the one that will give you the best results.
Max Verstappen drove almost every single GT3 car available to him when forming Verstappen.com team. He wanted to know which car would be best. In sprint format, he decided the Ferrari was the one to have. But in endurance format, he wanted the Mercedes across the full hours distance. And at the Nürburgring, he chose the Mercedes, of course, when he himself drove at the Nürburgring 24 hours. He did the biggest research possibly anybody has ever done of GT3 cars.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes really especially to AMG and certainly to Ferrari with this fabulous new 296 platform.
It's why I find it a little strange that we don't have more Mercedes in the field here. It's global points leader fighting with Porsche. We have 9 of them. We have a good chunk of Ferraris. I think it's 5 on the grid. But Mercedes over the last couple of years, got to go back to 2024 for the last Mercedes victory in GT World Challenge Asia.
Yeah, I remember the first years of GT World Challenge Asia, the Mercedes was dominating. So it's strange to see that it's kind of petered out a little bit over the years.
Anthony Liu in clear air there, a 40.9, taking 0.7 of a second out of Lu Wei on that last lap. The Nissan is up to 4th position, so he has passed the Ferrari. Adli Fong has also managed to make a move on Huang on that last lap, so there's been a lot of moving, as you would expect. And Aoki faster than Tony Ruohan ahead of him. And in fact, Adli Fong, the fastest man on circuit. So the silvers starting to rise through the pack. Akish Nandi, by the way, down in 7th position. The silver AM category has the AM drivers in it. So at the moment, Washington holding on to 2nd in silver AM, but it won't be long before the Porsche Center Okazaki cars come past. And here comes the 96 looking down the inside. This is for about 13th position, something like that overall, and Dean Chen not being able to find a way through there. Sits 4th in the silver category, but just 4.1 seconds behind Frankie Chen in front of him. There is Frankie in the 16, and this should work pretty well for Dean Chen.
Yeah, looks like David Chen just making that move stick on Carl Washington.
Thank you, David Chen. Sorry, mistake of mine. So David Chen then through, following Frankie Cheng in front of him.
I think something happened to Akash in the 29, because after the pit stop he was right with Frankie Cheng, and now he's way back.
Yeah.
So something must have happened.
2 of our AM cars have had penalties, so Santosho leads from David Tipto Banturo in the 2nd stint, and there's not much between the 2 of them. Almost on the same camera shot there. William Ben Porter is the man to watch in AM, because he will be closing down the 2nd and 3rd. 14 seconds at the moment between Ben Porter and Hazik O. Let's go down to the pits once again and talk to Dorian Boccolacci, whose car is up to 2nd spot now.
You guys were able to make up 13 places. Could you tell us a little bit about your stint and how you managed traffic?
Yeah, so first of all, you need, of course, a great start. It's what we did, actually. We gained like 6th position in the first few laps. And then the goal was for sure to stay close from the drivers in front, maybe overtake some cars in the pit lane, and I think it's what we did, actually. Everything went smooth. The team did a super walk. We did a great entry, great outlap, and yeah, then the rest of the job is my teammate Anthony, who is doing. He's doing a great job. He's fast, on track. He overtook nicely, and now we are P2 from P15, so it's not over yet, it's not finished, but at least at this moment we did a great job, and we need to continue like that.
Do you think that he'll be able to catch the lead car?
It will be tough, except if there is a safety car, but otherwise they are also very strong in front. But yeah, who knows? With motorsport, we never know till the end, so we still hope.
You did a great job out there. Thank you.
Taking about 0.7 of a second every 1 minute and 40 seconds, but there's only 6 minutes and 45 seconds left, so would be tough for Anthony Liu, who's definitely the fastest AM out there at the moment. But we do have the silvers to watch out for. Aoki and Fong making up ground, potentially looking for an overall podium. And don't forget though, if Aoki gets into 3rd position, when we go to the next round in Okayama, he will have a 16-second penalty. So again, maybe it's a question to ask one of the teams. Is it good to move up and take one more position and get that overall podium, or because it compromises your silver championship as well, right? Do you just stay and decide not to make the move stick?
Wow, that's a very difficult question. I mean, as a driver, you always just want to keep going up, keep getting the best result you can for this race, because nothing is promised and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But at the same time, those silver penalties are so hefty that it almost forces you to consider it.
Let's see then. Here is Aoki. Silver, just a reminder, if you are a silver driver, your success penalty has an extra 11 seconds. Therefore, Aoki sitting in 4th position. If he moved up to 3rd, he would take an extra couple of points. Of course he would, in the overall standings. But if his focus is on winning the silver championship rather than the overall championship, which is probably more realistic, then you don't want to lose that in comparison to Adley Fong, who's just behind, who won't have that penalty. So do you just sit on the tail of Tony Ruohan? It's sort of counterculture, but and there is definitely people more intelligent than me down in pit lane who will know exactly the reward versus giveaway. I suppose it means it depends on what your focus is. If your focus is on winning the championship as a whole, as a silver pairing, then you go for it. If you're focusing on winning the silver championship and you don't think you can win the overall, then you don't.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's ride on board with the 500 then. See how this Nissan is feeling. So you've got 4.5 minutes remaining. We saw at the end of the stint it was a bit of a handful.
Yeah, look, just looking at the way he's entering turn 3, it seems almost like he's a little bit cautious just of the rear over-rotating. Turn 6 now, yeah, he's not really requesting a lot from the steer, so as we can see, fighting the rear end a little bit on the way out. I think that 500 really goes through its tires pretty considerably. So Aoki doing a fantastic job to stay as consistent as he has been while he's hunting down these last few AM drivers.
Got the feeling though that the BMW is a similar kind of consumption. Tony around there missing the apex of that right-hander. Here's David Cheng, and now this is a position change for 12th position, looking at the inside. Big defense from Porshenta Ogazaki. Manages to hold on to the position, but I thought he was heading off on the old circuit there.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was going to go wide for sure, but those brakes just slowed him down. Excellent defense, really. Completely closed the door from David Cheng and just left him with no option.
Looks like there's a little bit of traffic up ahead. We've got Wakasaki perhaps. Oh, and here he goes down the inside, so makes that one stick. It will be compromised down the main straight, but it probably will be okay. But look, just ahead, Frankie Chen is on the tail of Brian Lee, and I think Anders Pato is in there as well. So actually, that's a battle for 9th position just up ahead. No, it's a back marker, isn't it? It's not Pato, because Pato's got a big advantage. So it's actually William Ben Porter who's one lap down, and they go 3 wide into turn number 1, and Ben trying to sort of stay out of the way here. Frankie Chen moving up a position up to 10th there, and that keeps him away from the charging Chen behind. Maybe Brian Lee is going to lose another spot here, but again, if you're looking at class position, it doesn't matter. Brian Lee needs to be careful, because at the moment he is leading Silverram, and he doesn't want to compromise that. But there is obviously a battle for 3rd in silver going on with our championship leaders in silver, Frankie Chen. Back to our battle for 3rd overall. Anthony Liu has now reduced the gap to 6.8 seconds on Lu Wei, but it's just not going to be enough, is it? The black livery of the number 11 has done what they wanted it to do, has brought them more luck. That car, would you believe, Wei Lu, despite taking 7 victories in GT World Challenge Asia, nobody else has won more. Anthony Liu has won the same amount. He still has never taken a championship. Runner-up and 3rd position over the last couple of years. And here is this opportunity for the Nissan, looking around the outside, but the BMW is sitting on the apex. Classic karting move there, just As long as he can't get the apex, he's not going to get round you.
Oh, good defense there by Tony Ruohan.
But needs to be careful, because the more you do that, the more Anthony Fong is coming to the party, and then that is crucial between those two silver cars. Fong having a lovely weekend in the silver category. It's his first weekend in silver because his AM teammates not with him, and presumably moving forward this car will become a silver AM again. We are on the final lap and the final couple of corners for Lu Wei. He has done enough. Lauren Heinrich doing enough in the first stint, and now Lu Wei doing enough in the second stint. They struggled with this car throughout the start of the weekend, but in the hands of Lauren Heinrich, it's been absolutely spectacular. A little bit perhaps of a struggle for Lu Wei in this stint. He's lost ground to Anthony Liu, but he hasn't lost enough, and he hasn't been compromised, and he has stayed at the front of the field, whether it's purple or whether it's black, whether it's number 4 or whether it's number 11. It's a victor in GT World Challenge Asia once more, and Lu Wei has done it for the 8th time. Nobody else has won more. Second position to Anthony Liu, and a drag race to the line for third position. Who's it going to be? The timing works it out as Tony Ruohan holding on, Aoki in second and Fong in third, but 4 thousandths of a second separating the BMW from the Nissan. Wow! And I think that actually is the right way round for Nissan. I think that works. Imagine that. You get a penalty for 11 seconds for 4 thousandths of a second of an advantage. Over the line, third in silver for Frankie Cheng, fourth for David Cheng, despite all of those big success penalties. And Brian Lee coming over the line to get himself a victory in silver AM. We are waiting for the AM victor to come towards the line as silver AM completes 4th and 5th. A good battle there at the line for Craft Bamboo. And here is that Mercedes AM car. Love that livery. Moving from Craft Bamboo across to Climax Racing for this year for Setuan Santoso, and clear ahead of the Ferrari, and that is victory then. The number 20 and number 51 were a whole lap down in the end, and with a penalty for the 22 car that has established the order. An 8th victory for Lu Wei. I guess they're going to keep the livery then.
Yeah, it's certainly given them good luck this weekend with a great result yesterday and then victory again today to make him the winningest driver. Really impressive job by both Lu Wei and Lauren Heinrich.
You've used that word. I think I'm told by people who know and understand English far better than I do that winningest isn't a word.
I've heard it used before.
It's always used. It's always used. The press officer is going to probably castigate you for using it.
I won't use it anymore.
You're not allowed to use it anymore.
Okay.
But I've used it many times and been told off for using it as well. It applies to the driver that has won more than any other in GT World Challenge Asia, and that is Lu Wei. 8th victory for him. He moves ahead of Anthony Liu. A 2nd victory in this season. Most seasons you have to look back at history and say most drivers in most seasons don't win more than 2. Kind of 2 is enough, and the drums welcome Lu Wei to Parc Ferme. The first to congratulate him is going to be Lauren Heinrich. Whether it's Picariello or whether it's Heinrich, this car is still fast. This gentleman driver is still one of the very best. Origin team extracting what they need out of the car. We're going to have to find out what the pig is on his overalls now, or the animes on his helmet. He moves to the rear wing to use that as a table.
Certainly big enough.
I've seen it used as a breakfast bar in some other championships. He's such a smiley face in the paddock, is Lu Wei. He's been with us for, well, that was his 44th race start. So missed a couple of years. Came in with Phantom Global Racing for a standalone race in China, in Shanghai 1 year. but now has 8 victories to his name, and his first at Fuji, would you believe?
Wow.
No, it can't be. It must be his second, because I said that he'd won here before. Liu Wei was the only driver in the entry list to have won here before, and he's won here again. There's Anthony Liu. I don't think he should be too disappointed. He drove incredibly well. Finally, we saw the 37 do some stuff on circuit. Just waiting to get Hana into position, and then we will hear from our top drivers. And there is Benjamin, our championship manager, and Dorian Boccolacci also congratulates him. They are slightly disappointed by being beaten by another Porsche, but that Porsche is very fast.
Race winners, congratulations. A brilliant run from both of you guys. How did you feel about your stint the last half of the race?
Well, I think Lauren really seriously did all the hard work today. All I need to do is trying to learn this car, because it's so much different than before. Now it's proper. It's so fast. So I'm learning every single lap till the last moment. And my engineer was like, "Wait, you're still not good enough in few corners." So I'm still trying to improve. I'm learning a lot from my teammate.
Well, you have a great teammate to learn from. Heinrich, what do you feel like was the key moment to winning today's race?
Yeah, I mean, we knew we have the success penalty from yesterday, so our goal was to extend the 5-second gap, which I think was key today, so that Wei has a clear way out of the pits, which we managed perfectly. It just worked out. You know, it was quite tight, so Wei brought it home. I'm really happy. He did a super clean job, even went quicker and quicker later in the race, so I'm really proud of his development as well, and also of the turnaround that we did this weekend as a team.
Great job to both of you. Congratulations.
I think we've finally worked out the mystery of the 11 car. It has been set up as a pro car, hasn't it? And they're trying to get Liu Wei up to that standard, whereas the 37 and the 911 are more set up for their gentleman driver.
Yeah, it could be very likely. We saw the pace of Liu Wei and Anthony Liu towards the end very similar. So, yeah.
Amazing race today. You guys made up 13 positions. What gave you the confidence for those overtakes?
We just deliver from where we started. We just need to look at the front, try our best, and it's what we did. No question of defending. At some point a bit, yes, but we are just looking forward in front and trying our best, and the team did a good job, and Anthony, of course, did an excellent job today. He had a fantastic pace, and of course, we did a lot of P2 together, but we will fight for the P1, and I really want to achieve that with Anthony, so we'll fight for that.
How do you feel about finishing P2? What does this mean for you in the championship?
It's really bittersweet. In one side, I'm very satisfied. I think I halved my deficit to the championship leader, and that was the goal. And coming to Fuji, our car is difficult to describe with words that's suitable for TV. So yeah, happy, but yeah, something left.
You both did a brilliant job. Congratulations. Thank you.
I think when Anthony starts really delving into the numbers, the smile might begin to cover his face a bit more, because ultimately he was the faster of the two AM cars there, and the gap, I still can't really explain the gap.
Yeah, but when you consider where they started from, I think P2 overall is a fantastic job.
Yeah, and that therefore is really down to then, okay, well, we're losing time because the car is too AM friendly in comparison to the Origin car. It's the third win for Origin in 3 years here at Fuji. We're going to go down to the Nissan and the 500. I wonder what they feel after taking 4th position.
クラス優勝おめでとうございます。今日はどんなレースをできましたか？
その青木さんにバトンパスしてからすごく追い上げてくれて順位も上がってたんですけど、最後惜しくも負けてしまって、悔しいレースでしたけど、今シーズン考えればこういう追い上げるレースっていうのはできてなかったと思うので、そういう意味では次につながるレースだったのかなと思います。
どんなスティントでしたか？
昨日と引き続き、2人で追い上げる展開のレースで、楽しかったんですけど、まず一つここで、シルバークラスで優勝はまだなかったので、ここで一つ結果を出せたので、この後のレースも引き続き勝てるように、力を合わせて頑張りたいと思います。
おめでとうございます。So unfortunately, they've always seemed to have a situation where they're going from later in the grid up to towards the front. So they really want to start a little bit towards the front more in the future of the races, but they are happy that they were able to make up places today.
And they did a great job. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I think an ideal job. The highlights of race 2 here in Fuji. Under cloudy skies once more, a festival feel on the grid, and the pro drivers in the cars, with Max Hesse on the pole position in the BMW and Tom Sargent, a guest driver, alongside him. A very aggressive turn number 1 with Lauren Heinrich in the middle of the pack, and poor old James Kuai not able to get to the apex. The Audi there dropping to the tail of the field with cars spinning to his inside. Turn number 2, and Lauren Heinrich around the outside of Tom Sargent, and a few laps later it was the inside to Max Hesse, where we went side by side, and this wonderful move down this 1 mile straight. Brendan Leach picking up a double slipstream, and around the outside into the lead of the race for the GT World Challenge Australia leaders. But he couldn't hold on for very long, and there was plenty of battling all around the circuit as AMS battled pros, battled silvers. Heinrich needed to build 5 seconds because they had a 5-second success penalty in the pits. He did exactly that to hand over to Liu Wei. But other teams gave away time, and Liu Wei came out onto circuit with a greater advantage. There were silver drivers against AM drivers in the second half of the race, moving through the field. Unfortunately for silver AM, Mercedes another retirement in 2 races. Aoki closed down Tony Ruohan in the BMW for 3rd position in the race. David Cheng made up plenty of ground for his silver car after winning race number 1. And finally, on the very last lap, the Nissan tried down the inside momentarily by the BMW, but it was a race to the flag for those two and a photo finish, but no such thing for the number 11. Liu Wei takes win number 8 in GT World Challenge Asia. Lauren Heinrich takes win number 2. And so we now get ready for our podium ceremonies. Plenty of them, plenty to celebrate. Great racing here in Fuji. It was chaotic last year. The year before we had half the field disqualified, and yet this year, perfect.
Yeah, it's a circuit that's provided really great racing, and it just lends itself to it. You know, there's wide entries into corners, just allows you to send it in.
Glad to see that the Samurais have made it up onto the podium to protect the podium, as they were once meant to do for the noblemen of the country. They are doing them for the noblemen of our championship. Tony Ruohan, Congfu, and Max Hesse is their disappointment in the BMW camp. I think they knew they didn't have the long run pace of the Porsches. Max said it on the grid, but I had a bit of money on them for getting a good result today. Another 2nd place for Dorian Boccolacci. We saw that car on the top step of the podium in Mandalika before he then went racing at Brands Hatch that day, I think it was. So wasn't able to be a partner to Anthony Liu. It was Luke Hartog who took victory that day. But ultimately Anthony wanting that 2-time championship title.
And now
Liu has never won a title. He's been second, he's been third twice. Maybe Alessio Piccirillo is looking on from home and scratching his head. An interesting philosophy that Heinrich has brought to the team this weekend. And obviously, certainly a car that Liu doesn't find comfortable, but sometimes being uncomfortable is good.
Yeah, oftentimes in these GT3 cars, the fastest car is quite active, especially on the rear, shall we say. So if an AM driver can adapt to that and really utilize that mid-corner rotation to their advantage, they're straighter on the exit, you can get on the power earlier, and maybe that's what we're seeing Liu just adapting himself more to the driving style of Laurin Heinrich, and clearly that's reaping rewards now.
2 victories for Heinrich in GT World Challenge Asia, alongside all those victories in other categories. A privilege to have him with us here. Not entirely sure whether we will see him again, but we knew that he was coming. We knew that this was in the program, despite the fact that there isn't a huge amount of motorsport going on this weekend. But I think, oh no, is that Anthony or was that Dorian stuck on the podium with a cork on his own? The results then of race number 2. Climax Racing taking the AM victory, Origin taking the Pro-Am victory and the overall victory, Silver Am to the Tool Boys, GTO with KRC, and silver to the Nissan Nismo. Gap was 6.7 in the end, and that is what will give Anthony Liu comfort over Liu Wei, with a race to the flag and 4/1000ths of a seconds separating the BMW from the Nissan. Adli Fong finishing his solo weekend in 5th. He'll be incredibly happy with that. Absolute Racing, LM Corsa, and the rest of the top 10 with GTO KRC in 12th and Climax Racing in 18th position. A couple of cars off the lead lap, and that second Climax Mercedes retiring for a second race, unfortunately. The silver podium then, and possibly the biggest struggles for these guys with those success penalties. No success penalties for our silvers, moving to Okayama at the end of August, and that'll be good news for the Nissan flags that continue to fly outside our commentary box. Those guys must have incredibly strong arms and back. Patrick Pan from Pirelli Motorsport Asia Pacific presenting our trophies to Adli Fong, to James Yu Kuai and Frankie Cheng, and to Miyaki and Aoki. A really good lineup in the Nissan Nismo. And it's always such a privilege to have those guys with us and their support that they give us. And the smiley faces on the silver podium. Sandy, a great pleasure to have you with us once more. Looking forward to Okayama?
Yes, thank you, Ben. I'm very much looking forward to Okayama. It will be my first time there, so looking forward to doing some laps on Thursday.
And then some talking in the commentary box the
weekend.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Thanks very much for watching. Okayama is at the end of August. Make sure you join us. See you again. Champagne sprays for the silver podium. We can check in with the point standings, which will have certainly compressed. James Yu Kuai and Frankie Cheng having a difficult start to their race, but James doing the right thing there at turn number 1, avoiding contact, having to go the long way around, but ultimately still had a car that was able to point the right direction. They'll have lost some ground in the lead of their silver championship, but their silver rival Akish Nandi we'll need to have a little bit of a look at what happened in the second half of the race. Here are the overall standings then after round number 6. Just 4 points separate 9-11 from number 11 now. Yeah, we didn't really speak too much about Huang and Ghiretti. They did not have the weekend that eventually Anthony Liu had. 4 points separate himself and Wei Lu in 3rd position. And that silver pairing of Frankie Cheng and James Kuai still there and thereabouts in 4th, with Boccolacci down in 5th and Tony Ruohan in 6th spot. Get ourselves ready for the silver podium. Next up. And down the second half of the field, it looked like it should have been a Mercedes at the top of Silver Ram. And needs to be a thorough rebuild on that Climax Racing Mercedes to work out what's going on there.
Yeah, really unusual that they had such an issue in both the races.
New teammate for Liang Jiantong, possibly a new teammate next weekend in Okayama as well. But good to see those two on the podium. And the silver category, once again, Porsche Center Okazaki, they don't really show too much on the TV coverage. We tend to never really pick them up, but they always just do their thing. And Max Hussein and Brian Lee getting the win to mirror what they did in race 1 here and in Malaysia at the start of the year. They actually picked up a 5th position in Malaysia. Yeah, 25 Porsche Center Okazaki guys had a victory in Malaysia in race 1 in Silver Am, but have missed out since, and it's possibly a slightly disappointing weekend to be outside of the top 10, but I think that's more down to the fact we didn't have any attrition.
No, not really. Also, no safety cars.
No safety cars. Here's a stat that you need to dig into, Press Officer Tom. When was the last time we had a whole weekend without a safety car? I'm afraid it's not something I can remember. Poor old safety car driver. Hope he still gets paid.
Oh, I think he's happy.
Yeah,
he's probably
exactly.
happy.
No miles on the Toyota Supra this weekend. The champagne now can really fly. No more needing to worry about laundry for the next day's worth of racing. We've got a couple of weeks before we go racing once more. It's actually about 6 weeks, I think, the maths.
Yeah.
So plenty of time to get cars up from Fuji down to Okayama. It's about 4 or 5 hour drive, perhaps something like that. So for those teams in Japan, get them back to the shop, get them turned around. Liang Jiantong leading, but just by a single point in the Silver Am standings now, ahead of Porsche Center Okazaki. And it's all closed in with Brian Lee and Max Hussein there in 3rd position. Lili Chow and Elias Sapanin no points across the weekend and therefore dropping down to 5th. Waiting on our next podium, our samurais continue to stand to attention. And this, I think, will be the AM podium. Yeah, there we go. So no drivers from the 22. They've already headed off to the airport. Wang Zhongwei and Liu Hangcheng. They got a drive-through penalty, didn't they? So represented by Origin Motorsports. And David Tiptoe Banturo and Christian Colombo, our AM champions. 2nd position today. Haven't yet got an AM victory this year. Of course, that car didn't take part as an AM car in Mandalika, so compromising the possibility of winning the AM Championship, particularly when they're racing against a pretty strong AM partnership in Mike Zhou and Setuan Santoso, who take the victory here today. They missed out yesterday, but they did take a win in Malaysia in race number 2. And actually, that was a pretty fraught affair. They ended up 13th overall. But I think the number 22 should come away from here with a advantage at the head of the standings in AM, because they've already had 3 AM victories to their name. This is the first time, actually, that they've been off the top 2 positions. Trophies raised above their heads for the photos. And there is Eric. He does the press work for the Chinese teams, for so many of them. Samurais don't want to get covered in champagne, so they head off. And the champagne sprays. Good to see a Mercedes on the top step of the podium. It won't change the global manufacturers' points, though, unfortunately. And Porsche with a very strong result in this second race, 1 and 2, will give them a healthy advantage. There is the AM points, and it's still a good advantage for 22 over number 8, with Ben Porter and Andrew McPherson third in the standings, ahead of Garage 75, because, of course, they missed that weekend last time. Great to have the Malaysian duo with us, Fortis Racing by Absolute. I hope we get to see more of Aaron Lim and Haziko. They definitely have a place in this championship. There are the manufacturers' points then. Porsche moving up ahead of Mercedes once more. Ferrari in 3rd and BMW in 4th. Audi still 5th and closing in on BMW. And they're still, they are still a strong car to have. And that's the wonderful thing about BOP. Thanks for joining us here in Fuji. We'll see you in Okayama in 6 weeks' time.